Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Life of Barney. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Hopefully you had a chance to look at our last video where I smoked a blade roast on my Weber Smoky Mountain. Turned out pretty good. As a little bit of feedback to the previous video, it probably needed maybe another hour, I would almost say 2 hours on the smoker to fully break down the elasticity of the meat and melt off some more of the fat, so I could have had pulled beef. That would have been pretty awesome. We'll try it again in another video at some point. However, today we are going to be doing a rump roast on the smoker. This is my first time doing rump roast. I can't remember the last time I've ever had one. I've done some research in general on the internet, watched a handful of other barbecue aficionados on YouTube, and thought, hey, I'm gonna give this a try. Typically what we see with rump roast, or at least what I think I'm used to seeing, is it's cut more like deli meat. We're not going to get pulled beef out of this. This is not going to be pick it up and it just barely holds together type of meat when this is done. We will be looking at it like a steak almost. Rare, medium rare is what we're going to be aiming for. To give you an overview of how this cook will go, we are going to aim for 250 degrees Fahrenheit on the smoker. I am going to use some wood chips to add some smoke flavor. All I have left at the moment is cherry wood. I wanted to pick some up, but today is actually a holiday for many of the provinces in Canada, so the stores are closed. That's fine. I'm sure it'll turn out just great. It's probably going to take about 2.5, maybe 3 hours on the smoker to reach an internal temperature of approximately 135 degrees Fahrenheit. This is pretty important to not exceed this temperature range, because when beef gets into that 135, 140-ish range, you are very rapidly approaching exceeding medium rare. With a piece of beef like this, where there is very little marbling in the meat, there's not a whole lot of fat to melt down and keep it moist. One of the problems you'll run into is that you will dry it out if you leave it on the smoker for too long. In this case, we will be monitoring the internal temperature of the meat with our ThermoPro remote thermometer. Let's take a moment to talk about the seasoning that we will be using today. It's the traditional rub, salt, pepper, garlic. However, today, a little bit different is I'm going to include this hot paprika into the mix. We're going to see how that goes. There was one YouTube video that I watched on a rump roast where they added in some paprika seasoning and it turned out pretty good. This one's a hot paprika, so there will be a little bit of heat added. One of the things I love about barbecuing is the magic it introduces into your life. Like this. Out of nowhere came some yellow mustard. Another ingredient that almost slipped my mind. We're going to use this as a binder. If you're not familiar what a binder is, it's when you take the meat, you pat it dry, and before putting your seasoning on, you put something else, another flavor profile, typically a sauce of some kind, and one of the most extremely common ones being yellow mustard, and you rub this across the surface of the meat, just a little bit. You don't need to lather it on by any means. It just gives that nice little sticky layer for the seasoning to stick to the meat, but also adds a little bit of flavor itself. I've never done it before. I've seen it done. I saw some recipes that called for it and some that didn't. I know everybody has their different opinions about barbecue, and you know what they say about people's opinions.
Whatever, man.
So I'm going to give that a try this time. Let's begin. I should probably give this a good shake too. Nobody likes it when your mustard or ketchup gets watery, right? All right, here we go. are just about ready to throw this on the grill. There's a couple more items I wanted to mention to everyone. Got my trusty watch. As I said in the last video, one of the important things when you're barbecuing, especially when you're smoking, is to keep an eye on the time. I know we're aiming for an internal temperature of 135, like I said before. I know that my remote thermometer has an alarm on it to remind me, hey, you're getting close to that temperature. But at the same time, if there's some kind of equipment failure or something like that, I'm checking my watch regularly. If it says 3.5 hours and I haven't heard anything from the thermometer, it's time to go take a look at the barbecue. Second, one of the mistakes I made in my last video, I forgot to put in a drip pan. This is just a pie tin. I've lifted up the edges just to give it a greater depth. I don't think I actually need it to be that deep, but it's important to catch the drippings. You can use those, you can heat them up, you can add a little bit of cornstarch to thicken it up and make it gravy if you wanted to. So you can dip your rump roast, smoked rump roast sandwich into a gravy, whatever the case might be. You got some options. Okay. Enough out of me. We're gonna head outside, get this guy on the grill. I'll see you out there. Welcome back, folks. We're out here at the barbecue now. It's already pre-lit. I'm sitting just a little high, about 260, not 250, but that's okay. I had the vents open a little too long on the bottom, so the temperature got a little high. For that 250-ish range on the Weber Smoky Mountain, you'll want all 3 bottom vents closed about 75% of the way. We will be smoking with the top vent open for the entire duration of the smoke. Like I said, a piece this size should take about 2.5 or so hours, plus about a half hour of rest time wrapped up in the house afterwards. Now, before I throw the meat on, because I don't want to leave this open for too long, I'm going to put the wood chips through the side because I've already assembled it. Important to note, I do have the water pan in the barbecue. It's about half full or so. This is a short smoke. I'm not anticipating a lot of the water evaporating off. There we go. And then slide that in. I can essentially use that as a little ramp to get the wood chips right over the lit charcoal. Two and a bit handfuls should be it. I like a lot of smoke with the meat. Some people don't. They feel it overpowers, but we're just going to do that. There we go. We can see it starting to smoke up. We get some out the side. Here we go. It's time to get the meat on here. I've already put the drip pan in, which is great. That's good. Here we go. This is looking great. That paprika that we put on here is going to leave a great color. Perfect. Now, I already have my meat probe. You want it going into a very thick part of the meat because that's where we will be wanting to read the temperature from. There, so that's probably sticking somewhere in the middle of this piece here. Okay. Get the lid on carefully. There. Done. So, we're going to leave that for a little while, folks. It's really hard not to open up the barbecue and look at what you are smoking or cooking, but when you open the lid on any given barbecue, all of the heat that is built up within the lid or the dome, the cooking area, escapes immediately. However, with a Weber Smoky Mountain, not only do you lose all the heat, at the same time you create this large opening at the top that just allows all the hot air to force more fresh air over the coals in the bottom, which means more oxygen over burning material means hotter flame. That's going to be a problem. If you're taking a while before relitting it, that charcoal is going to increase in temperature quite significantly if you're not careful. At any rate, we're going to leave it alone. I can see the thermometer from the door. If I'm doing something else in the house, I still have my remote to show me what the remote temperature is. And we'll check back in with you in just a little while. Stay tuned, folks. Well, that worked. There we go. That is 135 degrees, which means we have a very limited amount of time to get this roast off of the barbecue and wrapped up so it can rest. let's get to it. Oh yeah. I mean, it looks pretty good. Come out and get that in a minute, but otherwise, we gotta get this thing wrapped up. See you inside. Welcome back, folks. It's time for the grand unveiling. We're going to unwrap this and see how it turned out. For those of you who have been following along at home, we're at the 2.5 hour mark, pretty close to what I thought it would take. It's been resting for about 25 minutes. That's long enough. I'm hoping it's going to be juicy. It smells amazing even though it's wrapped up, but I don't want to wait any longer. Let's just dive into it. Oh, nice. Oh my God. Yes. How do I pick this? How do I move this out of the way? All right, everybody. Now, if I understand correctly, you don't cut with the grain, you cut against the grain. And it looks like the grain is running this way. So we will put a 90-degree to that. Here we go. I can't see. Oh, yes. Nice. That looks great. It smells amazing. So here's the trick, right? With when you do a rump roast, it's best when you cut it thinly. I'm not 100% sure why. Guys, I'll do the research and maybe we'll follow back up on this, but let's see how thin of a piece I can cut so we can get a little taste test of this. And it has been resting. We wrapped it up nicely. It keeps the juices inside. It also helps the internal temperature rise just that little bit more, making sure the meat's actually cooked properly. There we go. Hear my dogs growling in the background. They must be hungry too. Okay. Let's just take a small, oh yeah, thin slice. It cuts up real nice. Here we go. Okay. Not too much of a smoke ring. It wasn't on there for very long. Like I said, it was only on the barbecue for about 2 hours. It's not tough. It's not super tender, but we knew it was going to be like that when aiming for a medium well or a medium rare, rarish doneness, but yeah, it's really good. It ended up tasting a lot better than anticipated, so we had to take a break. A snack break, I guess you could call it. At any rate, we're on the rare side of medium rare, hence the amount of pink. It is super juicy. It cut very well. The texture is there. The bark didn't quite set on the outside. I don't know if that's to be expected given the short smoke time or not, but the flavor from the seasonings are there. You get just a little hint of the mustard. I thought maybe the mustard would come through a little more. Nope. But the salt, pepper, garlic, and the paprika married together really well to give a great overall flavor. Super juicy, but it's time to slice this up as thin as I can get it. Add the juices to the carrots and the meat to really moisten everything up and have a delicious meal. Look, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions. Oh, and don't tell my parents I was smoking in the backyard. See you later, folks. Try not to open the lid, especially in a Weber Smoky Mountain, for two reasons. As you know, when you open the lid on any given barbecue, he's having a good time.